All right, welcome to another episode of The Grail. And I have a special little show for you today because I know in this weird world these days, especially in Los Angeles, there's a shitload of crime and people are getting robbed and house invasions. And it's got me to thinking about safes. So I got a safe, mostly really for my photos, because if they're gone forever from a fire or anything. But it got me thinking, let's get somebody on, an expert about safes, somebody who's been in the business. Introduce yourself, my man.
I'm Josh Rosenberg. I work at Dean Safe here in Los Angeles.
How long you been in the safe game?
Not too long, but I guess you learn enough, as you do it. I've been doing it for 6 years.
How'd you get into that?
Honestly, my girlfriend and I had just moved out here. We were walking our dog and just kind of bumped into a lady that worked at this company, and I was looking we were putting our time at working at Universal Studios, just on the studio tour and Harry Potter and all that.
Oh, you were doing that?
Oh,
were you on the tram?
I wasn't on the tram. I was the schmuck letting you off of the tram when it pulls back in after the tour.
I knew somebody that was on the tram. They gave the tours.
Yeah, I'm sure that's much better pay.
Yeah, I wanted to get that job when I was started comedy, because the great thing was you just put in your schedule. That's how the tram people worked. They were treated like performers.
Right, yeah.
So it'd be like, okay, if I was on the road doing comedy, I'd be like, I can't work these times, but I'll do this. I'm glad I didn't get it, because,
Well, that was not a luxury I was afforded. It was like, you call in at 7 o'clock every morning and we'll tell you if you're working that day.
Whoa.
And it was,
that's like an extra in a movie.
Yeah, although they don't feed you.
Yeah, I know, but isn't that weird?
It was really awful, and we were just second guessing the whole move out here.
From where?
We met in Boston. I grew up in New York, but I lived in Boston for 5 years, and then she always wanted to come out here, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, let's do it. Why not?
Is it a rare situation where you're not in the biz and she's not in the biz? You just wanted to come out for the weather in LA, the excitement?
Yeah, kind of. We've been doing a podcast I've been doing it since before I met her. And we were just like, we'll see how comedy, we met doing stand up, and we're like, let's just see how it goes. Boston was okay, but it's a super small city, so we'll go out west, we'll see what's out there. And worst case, I had New York to fall back on. And
now, does she do comedy?
Yeah, we're both kind of inactive, I guess you could say.
Right. Yeah, because I didn't know you did comedy. Yeah. I know that you came and saw Bill Burr and I at the Forum, but I didn't know you were in comedy. So you came out here and you wanted to be a comedian, or you were doing stand-up?
That was the plan.
Were you doing open mics?
Yeah, we were just open micing and flappers, and we weren't really venturing too far out of the valley.
Right.
And it just got to the point where I'm like, I gotta do something that's a little more stable, because the cost of living out here.
Oh, it's gnarly.
Which that'll ties into the safes too, because you have people pay a lot for everything out here, especially out here.
Yeah.
And I needed more coming in than there was from comedy. I mean,
I get
starting out, I started doing comedy in 2011, I think.
In New York?
And in Boston.
Right.
Boston's kind of where I started. I was like, what,
Nick's and stuff like that?
Nick's, Laugh Boston had, I think, just opened up, and all the little spots around there.
Yeah.
Nice little community.
Oh, yeah. Who were your guys? Did you like Burr and all that? Who were the guys that got you into comedy?
For me, it was Burr, Chappelle,
right,
the huge ones, I guess. But for me, when I was a kid, I loved Carlin and Robin Williams and stuff. My dad would have all this, he'd have the vinyl albums, and I just put them on and just, I'd recite them all back. Chris Rock was a big one for me too.
Yeah, same here.
Which like my dad worked at a radio station and would get like the promos for anything, you know. So he brought me a copy of Roll with the New.
Yeah.
Chris Rock, and I just memorized every word. Whether I should say every word or not, that's another story. But
yeah,
I would just sit there and just memorize every word of that and Eddie Murphy albums, and I was like, you know, and you get told enough in your life, like, hey, you're pretty funny, you should do stand up, that you go, all right, I gotta at least try it.
Yeah.
So I tried it, liked it for a while, you know, then here I am.
Yeah, it's fucking hard, man.
Yeah.
You know, I got really lucky as I look back. Today is my 10-year anniversary of being a paid regular at the Comedy Store.
Congratulations. That's
yeah,
big.
and 13 years doing comedy. December 6th will be my 13-year anniversary. But I look at it as the planets were aligned, man. I got very lucky. I was still... You know, I moved to LA when I was 35, so I'm 56 now. And I moved to LA because it was really cheap.
Okay.
Back then.
Yeah, back then, yeah.
20 years ago, it was like, because I was living in San Francisco.
Okay.
And San Francisco was crazy rents. And because, you know, of the techie industry and everything. So I was like, whoa, I could get like a 2-bedroom for $1,000 in LA, and then get a roommate, and I'll just be paying $500.
Yeah.
And this is $500. You couldn't pay $500 in San Fran unless it was like 30 years ago.
Right.
So I'm thinking, holy shit, okay, I could go down there. I can, I was trying to, still playing music, trying to put out a second record and just keep going. And, it was dirt cheap to live in LA back then.
Right.
And it was even dirt cheap. My point of 13 years ago when I started comedy, I was paying $1,200 rent. And that is cheap for LA.
For LA.
Yeah, for LA. Anywhere else, you're
Right.
like, well, that's not cheap. But the point is, I could work a little bit doing comedy and then work a side job of selling motorcycles or whatever,
Yeah.
and be able to live and do comedy every night and not be like, I'm starving. And also, comedy wasn't red hot back then. The Comedy Store was dead. So I could go down there and get stage time at the open mics, and there was maybe 50 people that showed up. Now there's like 250.
Right. So what year was that?
I started 13 years ago, so that was 2009, December 6th,
Okay.
2009. So it was really 2010, because 3 weeks later it was 2010.
Yeah. All right.
So when you look at that, the Comedy Store was dead, Laugh Factory was red hot, and the Improv was hot. And Comedy Store was where I wanted to start no matter what, because it was just crazies. And I hung out there in the 80s. And it was just this rock and roll. They played rock and roll on the patio.
Right. And
And there was these misfits that were outcast from the factory and the Improv.
Right,
They're like, oh, those are store guys, And, I got really lucky that I could survive. I don't know how you could start comedy now with the crazy rents, the crazy gas prices. The gas when I was doing comedy was like $2.85, and
Yeah.
I was on a motorcycle. So I was just,
I'm trying to sell a car, and part of the guy's like, I'm not going to haggle with you over the price, but I want you to include a full tank of gas. I'm like, that might be a deal breaker.
I know.
That's it. I mean, it's an SUV. Like, it's going to cost $200 to
I
fill the thing
know.
up.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But
So that's the thing,
Yeah.
to start comedy in LA now. It's really like crazy expensive to live here. Gas this week is finally down to $4.50.
Right.
But man, it was $6.50 for a solid 8 months.
oh yeah, and you could still, it could be $4.50 at Costco or wherever.
Yeah,
and
right.
then
You gotta find it.
And then you go 2 blocks away, and it's over $6 still.
Yeah. Like right here, it's $4.89, and a block later, it's $5.65.
Right.
A block.
These guys don't talk to each other.
No.
You know?
So anyway, I understand, man. I've often told the story of like, it's really easy to take an artist out of the game with a solid paycheck, and so they're just like a assistant manager at Kinko's. The guy's like, I'm gone, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I get it because Also, I was 44 and had no kids, and I hadn't been married, so I was lucky. I didn't have any kind of restraints, but yeah, I understand. And when people tap out, I'm not one of those guys like, you quitter. I'm like, hey, I know.
Yeah, it's its own kind of, it's a weird like stand up is its own thing. Nobody will, I guess you'll have like the diehard guys who'll be like, they'll call you a quitter or whatever. Like, I have the discipline and the patience to stick with it and do that. But like, I'm more of a realist than that. Like, I know I'm not going to have the discipline to go drive however many miles to hit up a 5-minute, 10-minute set. And then, but yeah, it's the steady get. And I'm like, you know what, for my own sort of peace of mind, if I can be, we'll call it the funniest guy in the safe business. I'm okay with that. I'll take that title, maybe if even second or third, like that's good, And
how old are you?
37. Just turned 37.
Yeah, but man, you might start back up again 10 years from now.
I have been thinking about it.
That's right. I mean, that's what Rodney did.
Yeah.
He stepped out, became an aluminum siding salesman or whatever for 30 years, and then got back into the game. Was the biggest
40s or 50s?
Yeah, 40s. Biggest comic in the world after that.
Yeah, I never stop, kind of just jotting down.
Right.
Little, we'll have a conversation. Something will kind of be a little seed of something, and we'll jot it down, and a couple buddies of mine like producing sketches and stuff, which I like that possibly more than just doing a set.
Right.
But sketches are pretty cool. So
that's easy
we'll try and
too.
work on stuff.
You got
like
a team.
That. Yeah.
You got other guys you can bounce ideas off of. You can, just get together at someone's house and shoot a sketch.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait, 3 hours for 5 minutes at an open mic.
Right. Yeah.
And do comedy in front of like other comedians that are looking at their phones.
Some of the places out here, like when we first came out here, it was like, okay, we know the deal with, you could go on at midnight.
Right.
Or 1 o'clock, even, right before they're closing up and they pull the curtain. But then a few places we went to were like charging, it was like a 1 or 2 item minimum for open micers.
Yeah,
and we're
$5.
Like, what?
Yeah.
All right. Meanwhile, they're pulling people in who want to just hang out during the open mic, and they're making money off of them.
Right.
But I don't know, charging the performers to do their, share their materials.
I paid $5 every day.
Yeah.
But I also kind of understood it from their thing because there would be no customers in there. And they're like, why would we be open?
Right.
If we're not getting any money, we're not a fucking charity. So it's a two-way street. Yeah. Now, if there's a bunch of customers in there, then the people should be able to go on free.
Yeah,
that's
course.
how I look at it. But if there's no customers in there, which is the open mics when I started, the only ones that didn't charge were the great clubs, the Improv and the Factory and the Store. And the Store was really the open mic was only on Sunday and Monday, and the Improv was like Tuesday or Thursday or whatever, and Laugh Factory was like Tuesday. It was 1 day a week.
Yeah.
So you just kind of had to get out there.
And everybody packs in, 100 open micers?
Yeah. So you meet the lady, you're out, and what, you're just shooting the shit with this lady, and what do you do? She says, I'm in the safe biz?
Yeah, so my girlfriend actually ran into her. I didn't meet her the first time.
In your neighborhood?
Yeah. Yeah, we were over on Whitnall Highway.
Yeah.
Like over in Burbank, and there's like this little dog park track kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess they kind of hit it off, just started talking, and she mentioned how we were both looking for jobs, and she was like, I work at this safe company, I think we're looking for delivery drivers. And I'm like, I am not. Like, I'm a Jew from New York. Like, we don't do, like, manual labor like that, a little tinkering here and there, but, like, moving, like, 1,000-pound safes. Not really. But then I'm up against, like, making I think, less than minimum wage at Universal.
Whoa.
And I'm like, all right, I can't, no matter what, if I get crushed by a safe like a Looney Tune,
Yeah.
it'll still be better, like a better quality of life than what I'm dealing with right now. So I applied, and I mean, she got me an interview, and I went in. Now I'm used to like corporate, you know, my sales gig back in the day was in advertising, so it was like suit and tie, especially for an interview. So I show up, and I got my little tie, my black suit and everything. And I walk in and I'm like, oh, I guess the world is like, not the whole world is like this.
Yeah,
so
well, that's one thing when you walk into your place, it feels like it's from the 70s.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like old school. I love businesses like that. Because when I went in there, I was like, oh, this place is cool.
Yeah.
It's just weird. A couple guys were playing like Dungeons and Dragons or some shit in the
we
corner.
keep it light, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's some photos up of maybe some celebrities that got safes, you know?
We have, it's so weird because like our old location, we used to have 3 times as many, signed 8x10s of celebrities. And I'm like, it's super awesome that like, it's a definite conversation starter when someone's in the store. They go, oh my God, Ozzy Osbourne like bought a safe here.
Yeah.
But it's also like you're as well known or as little well known as you are, like you're kind of advertising that you have a safe, but you don't know what kind of safe they got. So they could have like the King Kong of safes. Good luck, finding where they live and then all that. So
that's what I was thinking. You look at it like, well, look at these guys we should be robbing.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's weird, like, and you know how, like, we'll go through those waves of, like, celebrities getting robbed.
Yeah.
Like, the guy from the Dodgers, like, had a bunch of rings stolen a few times, Those guys have never come in. It's always the one, and I'm like, oh, well.
You know what's really weird about that, too, is that's one of the longest traditions of L.A., which is one of the funniest, and I still love the 8x10s in a place. Yeah. The liquor stores got them. Yeah, right. You know what I mean?
The tailor, like the dry cleaners.
The dry cleaners all got them. And then this Thai pink pepper that I ate at for years in Hollywood, pink pepper Thai, they had them.
Yeah, of course.
And you look at them and you're like, this is kind of cool. You're just looking at some time this guy was in here. We don't know what point of his career. Was it huge, or was he on the way up or down or whatever? But they were in here. They brought an 8x10 and they signed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and a few like character actor kind of like, not household names, but they've come in. I watch a lot of TV and movies, so I know them by name a lot of times. Yeah. I'll be like, oh man, I'm a huge fan of your work. And they'll have 8x10s in the trunk of their car.
Whoa.
Still, yeah. That's still a thing.
Wow, that's still a thing.
And it's like, you get a selfie now with whoever, but they're like, they have the 8x10 glossy of themselves that, let's be real, like they haven't retaken that photograph in 30 years.
They got like 1,000 made in 1984, and they still got them. They're down to like 810 right now.
Right, yeah. A cast member from Friends has come in a few times. One of the main 6.
Yeah.
And we have a picture of him on the wall, and it's from when Friends was on, like first run.
Yeah,
he doesn't look it's a completely different person, but people see it and they go, oh my God.
Oh yeah. So you go in for the interview, you got the suit on, and you immediately realize, whoa, this is different kind of people.
Different culture, yeah.
It's kind of like Taxi, the TV show. Are you in there? It's like a bunch of weird characters.
Yeah, pretty much. Everybody's got their own sort of personality, and each department has its own little culture itself. And I'm like, okay. And they look at my resume and they're like, you have like 8-9 years of sales experience? I'm like, yeah, and I really didn't I had a bad experience in sales when I was in advertising, and it just like, that's the reason I moved to Boston, was for that job, and then got let go from there. And I'm like, I'm not a sales guy. I was like focusing more on comedy and stuff like that. And I'm like, the corporate gig was not for me.
Right.
And I just assumed sales was just that kind of, either that or like a car dealership where you got to be all sleazy and everything.
Right.
So they're like, do you want to like we'll hire you as a salesperson. I'm like, I really psyched myself up to be a delivery guy. You know?
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
all right. And they're like looking at me like, maybe sales is, probably better for you. And they were like, all right, when can you start? And at the time I went to like orientation at the Grove and stuff to be like a concierge or whatever. And they called me at the same time and they were like, hey, we want to start, Sunday at the Ventura Gun Show. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
And just dove in.
So was it good money and commission, or how's it work?
It was like pretty much double what I was making at Universal.
Oh, yeah,
and like a real schedule, not like calling in, seeing if I could get 5 hours on the
Any
clock.
health care or anything?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it was all just like, it's
real.
like a dream job,
Right.
like it's.
So you're at the Ventura Gun Show,
Yeah.
and you got some safes there, and people come up, and you're like, this one's a triple ply.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you have to dive down a rabbit hole and learn all the shit on the safes?
Yeah, so when my first day was at the Ventura Gun Show, and I don't know if I mentioned, Jew from Long Island, like we didn't have gun shows.
Yeah.
So this was a whole new world for me. And I'm like, okay, don't know anything about safes, really don't know anything about guns.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm doing here. Right. So it was just kind of like picking up whatever I was with. I think my GM was with me and he was just kind of showing me the ropes. And a lot of it is just kind of schmoozing.
Yeah.
Kind of shoot the shit with people. But then, I sold like a little, like maybe $100 pistol safe.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so proud of myself. I'm like, I got it, baby.
Yeah.
And went back, and I was working with the GM's mom at the time, like in my store, and I was like bragging, like, oh, I sold a pistol. She's like, yeah, big shit, that's nothing, And then just like forever after, I was just kind of learning little by little, and I have like sort of a technical kind of mind, so I like to know how things work. I do woodworking and stuff, so I like to kind of see what happens if you try to break this, like all the technical aspects of it. And then the rest just kind of falls in line and makes sense.
Yeah. I remember I've been around safes all my life because I grew up around drug dealers.
All right, there's that too, yeah.
And they all had safes.
Right.
And the more drugs they sold, the better the safes were. And, you go in there, they're like, all right, what are you looking for? Quarter ounce. Just spins the dial
the
3-4 times, opens it up. There's some guns in there. There's a couple OZs that blow. There's a ton of money, and some rings and shit that they bought, Rolexes.
Or collected.
Yeah, exactly. Traded.
Yep.
But, safe's been around. You look at Scarface, you look at safes, and you never really think about safes until you get robbed or someone breaks in your house or a fire. And then you start to think about safes. So my main reason was going in there was, I was like, well, what if I just got like a small little safe and just keep stuff in it, like just anything but photos. I had these photos that are priceless, and I've had them since the 80s of me growing up in the rock and roll world.
Yeah.
Me with Axl Rose or something. Me with fucking Judas Priest.
Right.
These are photos.
That's about as irreplaceable as it gets.
Right.
Like, you can't relive that.
No.
You're not going to be that age again,
Yeah.
Even if you run into them again.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
It's funny because I have moved probably 100 times, no exaggeration, and somehow I have all these photos, and then these books. If you see these books around, and that's what I have, and everything else I don't really care about. It's like everything else is replaceable, So I go in there and I start looking around at the safes, and there's all different types of levels. And from what I can tell, mostly they're all about the different levels are the fireproofness of them, really, right?
Yeah, there's a few different aspects that'll vary, but especially out here, like the main main concern is the fire rating, because you never know.
Oh God.
Yeah, the whole neighborhood could go up kind of at any moment,
every year,
any time of the year. Yeah. So there's obviously some safes that are not fire rated at all.
Right.
And then you'll go from like 30 minutes to 60 minutes. There's some like 45, whatever. 90 minutes, 2 hours. Some maybe as high as 2.5 hours.
Whoa.
And they kind of, the way they give it that rating, like they test it, they'll put it in a furnace usually at 1200 degrees, which is like your average house fire burns between 11 and 1200 degrees. So they test it for that. You know, once it gets the temperature, they'll start a clock for the, let's say, 1 hour fire rating. For 1 hour, the inside temperature of the safe doesn't go above 350 degrees. So paper, hopefully we all know, burns at 451. Gold is not going to melt. You know, metal, whatever, cash is fine. So that's how they kind of determine the fire rating for a safe.
A lot of the safes when I was growing up, they're digital, but it was the spin, one full to the right, then two to the left, and then back to the right, right?
Close, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that what it was like? Old school locker.
Well, the locker was like one to the left, two to the right, one to the left.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, safes where where you're protecting actual stuff and not like your biology book. A little more complicated. It's 4 to the left, 3 to the right, 2 to the left, and 1 to the right till it stops.
That much?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Now, what is the advantage of the old school spin to the new digital just punch in stuff?
All right. So this is one of the most common things we deal with.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will come in and say, like, I will not take an electronic lock. Like I'm old school. Meanwhile, they found us on their smartphone.
Yeah.
Like they didn't call us from a rotary. Yeah, from a rotary or like a payphone. They stopped by. The benefits of an electronic lock far outweigh the risk or the convenience that you might get from a mechanical lock.
Right.
We have a video on our website on deansafe.com of the owner and his daughter. They have two safes side by side. He's doing the mechanical lock and she's doing the electronic, and they race.
Yeah.
And he's still kind of fumbling with it, which happens. Like if you miss a number in your combination once, you got to start all over.
Of course.
She's in and out in 5 seconds.
Well, I never understood the people that keep their guns in there, and then a guy comes in to rob you. You can't get over to your safe.
Right.
I never understood the guns in the safe thing, except to keep them away from your kids shooting themselves.
Right.
But other than that, these guns got to be out.
Well, if it's for like the full, arsenal, they'll have a quick access kind of bedside thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if it's a lot of people
like that bird joke. I got one under my toilet.
Right.
I got one up here in the magazine rack.
Exactly. Like that. We for every massive gun safe that we sell, a few quick access boxes usually go home with it.
Yeah.
But an electronic lock, those are tested by Underwriter Laboratories, which does their logo, like the U with the L, like kind of subset to it. They test everything: fire extinguishers, light bulbs, beard trimmers, whatever. It's a product like quality control company. So they test safes and they test the locks that are on safes, and they basically make sure that an electronic lock is not manipulatable. And it's if you enter on most of them, if not all, like you enter the wrong combination 3 times, it'll lock out.
Oh wow.
And you can't get into the safe, which for you, it might be an inconvenience, but for a burglar, like they don't like hanging around for too long. They'll spend their time getting what they can get, but they're not hanging out waiting for this thing to and if they're gonna break into the safe, it's not like that back to the Hollywood like movie thing.
Yeah.
Nobody's got that card reader thing that they like connect to the lock.
Oh, yeah.
And it reads the combination.
Oh yeah, they don't have that.
Right. Best case scenario, if they did have something that could hook up to whatever, it would still trigger a timeout in the lock. So to go through every possible combination on electronic one would take 27 years, I think it is.
Whoa.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's okay. You're fine.
So the difference between the two, the old school tumbler spin one, you can pick that. Are there guys at your work that know how to pick locks like an old school dude?
Yeah, we have. I mean, we don't have an in-house technician. We'll refer out a few guys that we know and trust and been working with forever. That I don't know if they necessarily will get the stethoscope out and do that whole thing.
That's what I was wondering, if that is that a real thing?
That's a real thing. Yeah.
Oh, so you're hearing like the tumblers drop, right?
It's more like you can narrow down the possible combinations to, like, I guess 6, because it'd be usually a 3-wheel lock. So you'd narrow it down to 6 possible combinations, or 9. I don't know, math. By listening for when the wheels click past each other. I think I'm not a technician, so I don't know if I'm probably sound like a dick to them, but I think it's like you can hear the click of the wheels, but it's not like where you need to line it up either. Like, more goes into it than that. Yeah. So yeah, they're more manipulatable. There are some high security mechanical locks where the tumblers will be made out of plastic, so you can't X-ray them, or they don't click a certain way.
Yeah.
But I mean, for your normal, like, run-of-the-mill house, like, that dude's not breaking in to steal, to steal your wife's jewelry.
A safe cracker.
That's another thing to consider. Like, if you're in the market for a safe, put your favorite heist movie aside.
Yeah.
Those people are, generally speaking, not going to be the ones breaking into your house.
Yeah, those are like serious. They're doing super, and you don't even hear about those anymore anyway, because everything's all, currency is just websites.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can log in with your fingerprint.
Right.
On your phone.
Yeah.
Have access to all your digital currency and everything. And
there you go.
People still have heaps of cash that they put in their... But that's another thing. We have people who are known to the public to have lots and lots of cash because they can't deposit it in a federal bank.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because certain industries are legal in certain states.
Like weed.
Weed, exactly.
Weed, you can't deposit the money in the bank still.
Right.
Which
still.
is weird,
Which I don't know if that's like in the pipeline or whatever.
Right.
But everybody knows that they have tons of cash.
Totally.
And some of them are smarter about it, and they go, okay, well, there's going to be $500,000 in cash in this safe.
Yep.
Are you going to spend $500 on a safe?
Yeah.
Or are you going to spend $5,000 on a safe?
Right.
So it's all about protecting your investments, and even if it's not a ton of cash, it's photographs, it's my grandmother's stationery, it's stuff that if it went missing, how much of a pain in the ass to you would it be to try to replace it?
All kinds of documents that you might need, like your mom's will or your dad's will or your grandparents' will, and just all of that shit that if it burns, you're like, oh, I don't even fucking know what it was, and then you're just in a tailspin forever.
Right.
Now, let's say you have a fire and the push button one, that whole thing melts.
Yeah.
How do we get into the safe? You got to bring it into a place?
I mean, a technician would be able to come out and drill it. I mean, the safe is more or less a total loss at that point.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, they can
as
get
long
into
as the stuff that's inside is okay.
Yeah.
Like, who cares what the condition of the safe, fortunately, is one of the replaceable things that you're dealing with.
But how do they do that? They come and drill it open?
It depends on the type of safe. If it's like a super high security safe, it's like set aside a weekend a week, some of them are pretty tough. For your average home safe, they could come in, they'll know, they can get the blueprints of the safe and know like exactly where to drill and kind of.
All right, let's get into the different levels of safe. So, the one I got is just a small square. What do those kind of start at? Like a small good fireproof electronic lock one. Are the electronic lock ones the same price as the tumblers?
Actually, nowadays you probably pay a little extra to have it retrofitted with a mechanical dial lock because they're all coming out standard with electronic now.
Oh, so
Yeah.
they don't even make the spinner
They
one
make
anymore.
'em.
But
I
you
mean,
gotta
it's-
have it. You gotta have it retrofitted.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the old school guy.
Yeah,
We'll it'd be $100. We'll put one on there, and then
Yeah.
a few months later you'll call and ask for the technician's number to put an electronic one on.
Yeah.
So it's
What's like a good, safe, low end, kind of small square
so
one?
like baseline. Plan on spending $1,000.
Right.
Not
bad.
just with us, but anywhere.
Right.
If you want something that's worth getting.
Yeah.
Set
Anything
aside
under that's not
$1,000.
worth getting,
I
right?
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like for my family, I wouldn't let them get a safe that didn't cost somewhere around $1,000.
Right.
Like it's just not, because if you look at like big box stores and stuff, like you could get a safe for $80.
Ooh.
But what are you not getting? What are they
yeah.
saving on to be able to sell it to you for $80? And it's usually steel thickness. It's the quality of the lock. That's going to be probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Because steel is steel at the end of the day, right?
Right.
There'll be 14 gauge steel. But the lock, and we get so many calls. I bought this safe. I've had it for 10 years, which is weirdly very long for one of those safes to last.
Yeah.
Before you lose the key and can't change the battery on the inside.
Ooh.
Beware of a safe with the battery on the inside.
Oh shit! Yeah, because once it's dead, you can't
Once
go
it's
in.
dead, you can't go in, and everybody loses their keys.
Yeah.
And once you lose the key, you need a new safe. Essentially, somebody's gonna come and have to cut it open. Now you need a new safe.
Fuck.
So that's what you get for the kind of under $1,000 out the door
Yeah.
thing. Is like you're gonna end up spending more in the long run. So just
yeah.
get yourself a decent safe. Usually cost around $1,000. You want something. I mentioned UL Underwriter Laboratories before. They're kind of the standard. Well, no, they not kind of. They are the standard. They set the standard for what the security on a safe should be. It's called a residential security container. And that test, there's a few levels to the test. So your basic level is they have one guy he does a 5-minute test with like common hand tools like hammer, screwdrivers,
just
whatever,
hammer it,
like
hitting
on
it?
it, like whatever a tweaker on the street would get at Harbor Freight for $20.
And that's usually the people breaking
exactly, yeah, and that's why they test it that way. So they spend 5 minutes. They have the blueprints of the safe, so they know the weak spots. And they try and basically get the door open or make a hole big enough to be able to reach in and get the contents.
By slamming the metal with like a ball peen hammer?
Yeah, pretty much. Like just trying to like break into it.
Right.
Like if you were to walk into somebody's house and see a safe, you knew you had 5 to 10 minutes before before you're busted. How are you going to try and get into that safe?
Yeah.
And that's what they do.
Wow.
So if it passes that test and they can't get into the safe, they put their name on it, they put their stamp on it, and that's considered a residential security container. Please make sure that your safe is a residential security container.
Yeah.
It's like the bare minimum of like just get it doesn't bump the price up significally.
Right.
Just have it. It'll give you that much more peace of mind knowing that somebody has already tried to break into your safe and they couldn't do it. Then there's, from there you can get, you go up in steel thickness and there's, it's rare, but like there's a residential security container level 2, which is like twice the manpower and heavier duty tools and the test kind of speaks for itself. Like they're beating the shit out of this safe.
Right.
And they can't get in. And your level of peace of mind goes up. And then once you get into like commercial, there's TL rated safes, which is tool rated, much more rigorous testing that they do on it. And for high value jewelry and stuff like that, a lot of times your insurance company, if you go to take out like a special policy on whatever it is, let's say you're a jewelry store, based on the value of what you want to keep in the safe, the insurance company holding the policy will tell you, like, we need
The
you to
level of the
get,
safe,
yeah,
yeah.
you have to get a TL30X6.
Yeah.
Because they trust the test that's been done on that safe.
Now, what about most average homes have kind of a square, that type of safe? Have you heard? I mean, because when they come, they go, "Do you want us to bolt it down?"
Yeah.
Do the tweakers come in and pick this fucker
Yeah.
up and throw him off the stairs and shit?
Yes.
Whoa.
All the time.
Really?
Yeah. We've seen, like, I've seen maybe a dozen, like, Ring camera videos of,
Yeah.
like, the neighbor's safe getting tossed off the balcony.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're going to go through the trouble of deciding you're going to get a safe, picking out a safe, paying
Yeah.
for the safe, having the safe delivered, loading up all your valuable stuff in the safe, do you want to be the schmuck that has the safe, like, walked away?
Yeah.
Like,
that's the
just
dumbest. They're
just
200
bolt it
pounds,
down.
though, at least, right?
Yeah, but you have to consider, like, they're already breaking into your house.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline, right?
Yeah.
You get, but they don't care what condition they leave your floor in.
Yeah, right.
They're gonna drag it out. They'll slam into walls. They'll grab your bedspread and drag it down the stairs.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They can throw it on that.
Yeah.
It's slippery.
Like, imagine when somebody's breaking into your house. Whatever rules you try to stick to in your own house.
Oh, yeah.
Those rules are out the window.
Yeah.
For a tweaker coming in just looking for cash,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So just bolt it down.
Yeah.
If it's under a ton,
Yeah.
bolt the safe down.
How do you bolt it down? From, like, underneath? Or
So every safe we carry is pre-drilled through the bottom to be bolted to the floor.
Oh, I got you.
If you're on concrete slab,
Yeah.
obviously even better.
Yeah.
I think it's like 1,600 pounds of force for each bolt into concrete or something
Right.
crazy.
Right.
Wood, here in the valley, like most houses are built on a raised foundation.
Right.
So it's just wood and then crawl space underneath.
Right.
It's better than nothing.
Right.
Like, we'll bolt it down through the subfloor.
Yeah.
You got inch thick plywood. It does something.
It does, because then they're like, "Oh, fuck, it's bolted,"
Right.
and they're freaking, and they go look for something else.
And I get a lot of people going, well, they just don't want to. They don't want to damage the floor, and they're like, well, at that point, if they want it that bad, they can have it. And I'm like, what are you putting in your safe that you only half want to protect?
Yeah.
That you only half want to keep? Like, just if you're gonna do it, just do it right.
And the safe is there. You're not going to see the floor.
right, exactly.
Unless you move, and then sometimes you just sell the safe with the house. You go, well, it comes with this safe, and you get a new safe.
Or you could unbolt. It's not permanent.
Yeah.
It's in the spot, like, I
Right.
guess temporarily. It's
Yeah.
being held there with
Yep.
force, but we can come out, we'll unbolt it, we'll move it, we'll bring it to the new house, we'll bolt it in there.
Yeah.
But you're going to go through all this trouble just to have somebody break in and then they walk away with your safe. It could be the best security safe there is. If they can get it somewhere else, they have all the time in the world to break into it.
Totally.
I don't know. It's as much as it may seem like a common sense thing, like, we have to like go down this hole pretty often.
What's the most expensive safe? I mean, I understand because of the size. Like, there was one the size of my bathroom door there, and it held like 800 guns or whatever. But what's the most expensive safe? Not because of the size, but the brand. Like what is the Patek Philippe of safes? What's the fucking cream?
There's a company called Brown, not Browning,
Oh,
but
Brown.
Brown, and they do just like, if you are in the mood to spend $50,000, $60,000, $150,000 on a safe,
Wow.
they're happy to make it for you.
Wow. And what makes it so high end?
They'll do. I mean, they'll just keep adding layer and layer and layer of steel and fire rating, and they'll do like a mahogany interior with the whole thing,
Yeah.
and they're nice. Are they worth it? That's not for me to, that's subjective, but those are like the super. There's another one. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but they're up there too. And some of them, they'll put through that TL30 or TL30 by 6 test. So they're okay,
Yeah.
you know, like you're getting something for your buck, but there's sort of a level, like a cap to where like it's a good bang for your buck.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I mean, you spend 150. You got to be able to like have like $2 million in cash. There's a reason why, you know, like
Right.
in there or whatever.
And the $2 million in cash has just got to be the walking around money,
Yeah,
like that.
right,
You know,
right,
that's your
yeah,
bowl you
right,
throw your
right,
keys
yeah,
in.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen $1 million before, you know, and it smells.
Yeah.
It's weird because there's $1 million there. It just smells like money.
Right.
And you know, it's not as big as you think. You're like, oh well, that's not even very big of a
Right.
square there. You know what I mean?
I'm always fascinated when people pay in cash.
Yeah.
And it's like they'll spend 25. I think the biggest like in-person sale I've made was like, I think it was like $60,000 and they paid in cash.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, like
walking around money.
Yeah, I've never held this much cash at one time, possibly like cumulatively in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm holding it and I'm like, okay.
It's
wow,
such
this
a
is pretty
pain
small though.
Pain in the ass to
Yeah.
count. Even if it comes wrapped by the bank,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You're like,
I still have to
gotta
unband
count
it
yeah.
and put it through the counter, and then the bill gets stuck, and I got to
Yeah.
start all over.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, cash is pretty small.
It is.
that's-
It's crazy, right?
And they-
because you know back in the day, you're watching a movie and there's $1 million in cash.
The big briefcase,
Yeah.
the big aluminum brushed
yeah,
briefcase.
the guy
full
comes
of,
with that.
yeah.
Now it's just a duffel bag. You're
Yeah.
like, here, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty
And they got
tiny.
rid of the $5,000 bill and the $1,000 bill back in the day.
Right.
So if they had that still, it would just be like
Just
a
fit in
few
your
bills.
pocket. Yeah. What's in your wallet?
Just
$1 million
walking
bucks.
around with $1 million in your pocket
Exactly.
and $5,000 bills. Now, how many locations does it's Dean's Safe?
Dean. No, not
Dean.
Yeah, just Dean Safe.
Yeah, Dean Safe. Now, what's that name? Is it the guy?
So John Dean, yeah. John
yeah.
Dean is the owner of the company. He is a Vietnam vet. He used to work, I believe, for American Security back in like the 70s.
Yeah.
And American Security is one of those brands that is, you know, if there had to be a safe company that was sort of a household brand,
Right.
American Security has been around since 1946. So
So he's been
they're
in
out
the
there.
safe game all his
Yeah,
life.
he's been doing this pretty much since he got back from Vietnam.
Wow.
And then opened up a lock shop and safe kind of shop in late 70s, early 80s. And then we just grew from there.
Wow. And how many
Yeah.
locations?
So we have 3 locations, all in Southern California. We ship nationwide. We have a website.
What is it?
DeanSafe.com.
Okay. And then the one you work at, is there 2 in the Valley?
There's one in the Valley, in North Hollywood. Our warehouse and Simi Valley location are in Simi Valley.
Right.
And we have our other stores in West LA, in Culver City.
Cool.
And we service everywhere, so
And how many employees?
30 employees.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give everybody your podcast. Still doing your podcast?
Yeah, it's called The World Famous Shit Show.
And what is your podcast do?
So somehow it's always movies and music and me ranting about why something on the menu doesn't show up the way it's described. We do something called How Have You Never Seen This, which is I fancy myself sort of a movie buff.
Yeah.
And there are just some classic movies that I just have never gotten around to seeing.
Oh,
Like,
I always talk
Yeah.
about, I do a bit about that where, you know, like I just tell people I've seen it now.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to hear like, how have you not seen the
Yeah.
Big Lebowski, dude?
Exactly, yeah,
What
yeah.
are you talking about? So now I just go, hey, the Big Lebowski, right? I go, yeah, it's great. The dude. And they're like, yeah. And then I just cruise away. You know?
Hold on, have you never seen The Big
I
Lebowski?
finally did.
Okay, yeah.
But to me, I thought it was very overrated. And, you know,
I'm hurt to hear that.
well, I love their other movies, you know.
Okay.
Big time. But I get it. There's movies that people haven't seen. Dude, I just had a friend who had not seen Godfather till now, and he's 54.
That's
And that's a masterpiece.
And he's a guy.
He's a guy.
Yeah,
How do you
yeah.
not see a masterpiece?
He's an American guy?
yeah.
Okay, I don't get that.
Just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, and
You know-
every year is like, I know, I still have it. It's like, how have you not seen the greatest film ever?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, nobody's telling you have to love it.
Yeah.
but you have to at least have seen it. So on Thanksgiving, I had never seen The Great Escape before.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's great.
So put it on, and then we do like a pre kind of, what do you think it's about?
Right.
What did you see that came out around the time this came out? Because like movies from the 60s, like I wasn't alive.
All right, yeah.
But
my friend's dad was in it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, but it's just wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the film you brought up. Now, what else haven't you seen that are classics? That you got a list and you're going through them?
Yeah, I'll go through each of the streaming like apps and just kind of go, oh wow, I kind of astonish myself sometimes, like The Great Escape, and honestly, I've never seen The Terminator.
Oh wow,
the first one.
Wow, that's a great film.
Yeah, I've seen the second one a dozen times.
Wow,
I've never seen Terminator. I've never seen the Alien movies.
Oh wow,
stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Movies are, the really good ones are so few and far between now. I just saw Tarantino was talking about that, how the movie industry is just a shit show. And I totally agree with him.
Yeah.
And it's easy not to see films because back when I was growing up, there were a lot of good movies.
Yeah.
And after a while, you're like, you couldn't keep up. Like a Friday would come out and the multiplex would have like 4 movies you wanted to see. Now
that you had to you go, negotiate with yourself, all right, well, if I have to pick one, right,
it was like $6.50, and you're like, shit, man, I don't have a lot of money. I got to go see this. It's wild to think about. A friend of mine went to see a movie a couple nights ago. They said, I'm going to see this movie. I think it was Cate Blanchett was in it. It's a new movie she's in or something. And I was like, I love movies more than anything. But ever since COVID, I couldn't even tell you what's out. Right. I don't see any ads for movies anymore. I barely see billboards unless I'm on Sunset going to the Comedy Store. And then I don't even know what it is. I'm like, what's that?
I think with the lockdown and everybody going, all right, well, I guess we'll have to, we have this new movie that's in the can.
Yeah.
We got to put it on streaming.
Yeah.
And it changed everybody. We're like, oh, I guess we can watch a brand new movie from home again.
Yeah, but I only like to go to the movie theaters, I love it in the theater, but not so much in the last year and a half or two, because I think I'm finally at that age. I've always been like this, to where I cannot stand fucking talkers at the movies and texters. And I'm like, God damn it, these people are going to wipe it out for me. One of my favorite things to do in life is on a Tuesday, always go to the Sunset 5 or the ArcLight at 11 in the morning, the first screening, no one in there, and just enjoy a great movie. I can't go to a packed movie house with texters and talkers.
No, the cell phone thing,
it ruined it.
It ruined a lot.
It did.
I used to be we were all super excited when smartphones first kind of became, but going to a concert and seeing people, I listen to your Yonder Bag.
Love it.
The dude hit it right on the head.
Yeah.
What? And I went to, I think my moment of realization was at a Dropkick Murphys show, and Ken Casey's they had on the backdrop, it was put your fucking cell phone down. You're here. Live in this moment right now. Because when you rewatch this little 40-second video you're taking to prove that you were here, it's not going to be reliving, experiencing being here at the show.
It's only about bragging rights now.
Yeah.
Because back in my day, but you wore the T-shirt to school the next day, and people went, "Whoa, you went!"
Yeah,
and you go, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I went." They're like, "Whoa!" Now it's just they're not watching the clips ever again. It's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's Twitter. Put the clip up. Here we are. We're seeing fucking Dead and Co.
Yeah,
we're in the front row. You're not, you losers.
Right,
and that's all it is.
The whole our culture of pictures or it didn't happen thing.
Yeah.
How about fuck off?
Yeah.
How about I had a great night and you weren't there? I'm sorry. It did happen.
Yeah. So it's I'm hoping the Yonder Bags make its way into movie theaters And then I'm going to be really fired up because I'd like to be an old man in the movie theater on the weekday,
Right.
just like 65. Like I said, shoot him, do it, you know, just be in there, you know. The last great film I saw, I think two of the greatest films I've seen in the last 20 years. One was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah.
which I think is hands down the greatest Tarantino film ever, and he recently just said that it was his greatest film he made, and I agree because to me it's the original. All the other ones are kind of, you know, oh, this is a blaxploitation.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a movie that was made in Hong Kong that he spun into his thing. Oh, this is a Western that he did, you know. Where Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really feels like an original movie, you know. And then the what is it, Power of the Dog?
Didn't say the Sam Elliott one, right?
Fucking great.
Or the one, didn't he say something about it?
Oh,
Or
yeah,
was in
Sam Elliott,
it?
he's like, that ain't no,
Yeah.
that ain't no Western. Till full homophobia. Has some bullshit right there. Cowboys out there trying to fuck each other.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit, man. Yeah, basically, he didn't say that, but that's what the tone
subtext.
was.
Yeah.
That ain't a Western. You know, it was like, I thought it was one of the greatest films I've seen. Right up there with the fucking Revenant, man, you know.
I like The Revenant.
Woo,
It was a lot of those movies where it's like a guy out on his own. Like that's that should be like immediate Oscar, no matter what, you know. Which I think they've done all right. But like 127 hours, and The Revenant, that we're just watching that one dude act.
Fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
And then the other one too, where the kid dies in the fucking bus, you know.
Oh, Into the
Wild. Yeah, Sean Penn, I think, produced that or whatever. But those type of films where you're just kind of like, damn, that's a fucking human against all nature, you know?
Yeah, there's no ensemble cast to like where two dudes are up against each other in the same category.
Yeah.
We're watching one guy as a master of his craft.
That fucking Revenant, man. First of all, I saw it in the movie theater, and I think they were playing the AC in the middle of the night, extra cold, to give you the cold vibe. Because I was cold in there, and then it's fully dark and cold and beautifully shot, and you're just going like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah. I think I watched it at home, but still, like when I'm watching a movie like that, I like to get in, you know, the theater experience, I guess. You know?
My God.
Like, I don't want to, I try to not, like, fuck around on my phone or anything.
Yeah, I turn the phones off.
You could get lost, like, watching a movie in your own living room.
Yep.
But if it's something I kind of want to take seriously in, like, the spirit of how it was meant to be watched, I'll tune into just the movie and kind of check everything else out.
Well, it was great talking to you, man.
You too.
And I really wanted to have you on, and then I went on tour. But I just love talking to people about stuff. You know, I was in the safe shop, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Yeah. You know, when I was a kid, man, I was fascinated by padlocks. Master padlocks.
Yeah.
I loved them, you know.
It's something mechanical that you have no use for in your life at that time, but there's moving parts.
I remember the first day, 7th grade, you get your locker. You get to school, depending on your last name, you come to school like 2 days early, and they show you your locker, like say, A through, D, show up on Tuesday. And they go, okay, your locker 306, and you're walking around the school, and then there it is. Your first time having a locker, because you were 1 through 6, you just had a fucking cubby hole at school, which is bullshit. And then there it was. That was your life in there. And, and then the guy shows you, he goes, okay, 6 to... I remembered my combo a couple days ago, out of fucking nowhere, laying in the bunk on tour. 39, 16, 27.
Okay.
It was wait, I got
don't make that the combination to yourself.
Oh no, never, no, yeah. Oh, that's the thing too, people. Don't use your birthday.
Don't do birthdays.
Yeah.
Don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, don't leave it as the factory set.
Oh,
1,
the
2, 3,
factory
4,
race.
5, 6.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
people call in. They've had their safe 15 years. I forgot the combo. Did you ever change the combination? Actually, no. I don't think I did. That's it.
Holy shit. But you spun it, you got your school locker. And I remember there was a fucking thing, man. You put your shit in your locker and then you close it. And if you didn't spin the lock, it was still open.
The bolt is still
so
retracted
people would
in the
go
lock.
on the weekend and you just
pull the little
you pull the lug
thumb
and it
tab
would
thing.
open and they'd rob your fucking shit, man. And there was dudes I remember to this day that police would show up at the school and they would open up your locker, kid, and the guy would be selling joints. And it'd be like 50 joints in there and money. And there's other guys that were selling bubble yum and bubble gum when it first came out, like bubble yum, like they would sell it for like 25 cents. They'd have a locker full of bubble yum or Pop Rocks. This is old fucking candy. Sell it at school.
I don't think anybody got, maybe like one kid got busted.
Yeah, there's always one
like,
kid. And he's always just the stoner drug guy.
Yeah.
He had like the fucking weed, the weed plant fucking flower, on his
right,
vest.
All the 420, like the smiley face with like the red eyes.
Drug references on his fucking Levi vest. It's just like a map of bust
you
me.
knew this was going to happen. Come on, man.
Yeah. And then they'd have a pair of nunchucks in there or a switchblade.
Yeah.
Just illegal stuff.
I had a coupon cutting, like little box, not even a box cutter.
Yeah.
Like it was part of like a toiletry kit, like a nail clip. Had it in 6th grade, got suspended.
Oh.
For bringing a knife to school.
Yeah.
That's when like that whole zero tolerance thing really started kicking off. And then speaking of lockers, all right, so there was this girl I was back and forth with in high school, and she decided she was going to date another guy.
Yeah.
Now, this happened to coincide at a time when we had a next door neighbor who refused to clean up after his dog. I lived on a corner house, so he would walk down the side street and just let the dog shit wherever he wanted and just walk away.
Yeah, one of those monsters. They're still around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that particular one, he moved, but So I'm like, all right, you know what? As Gertie's listening intently.
She's out cold.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, this dude, and we just had like a beef over this girl back and forth.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, how can I get him real good? So my friends and I did a little recon. This is the first time I'm going public about this, by the way. Here, you heard it here first. Collected, we took a gallon Ziploc bag, just loaded that bitch up with dog shit.
Yeah.
And then scouted out which locker was his. And he was like Mohawk kind of, like he's the guy from high school who just like was way too cool to put a lock, like a padlock on his locker.
Yeah.
Found his locker.
Whoa.
Dumped. It had to be like 3 pounds of shit right into his locker. And then like months later, I get called into the office and they bring it up like, for something else. And they're like, have you been arguing with Brian Slingerland? I'm like, no, we're fine.
Yeah.
Did you, by the way, they go through the whole like discipline thing. They're like, by the way, did you ever put anything in his locker? Denied it. Denied. And then I'm just like, this is 20-something years later. I'm like, you know what? I feel like I could tell this dog shit locker story right now.
There you go.
Yeah. Shout out to my friend Pecker, who helped me scout out the locker. And apologies to Brian. I mean, we're all good now, but...
Let's give a shout out to Club Soda Kenny, too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, fucking great human.
He's got me connected with you, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And he called you from my desk and said, hey, Dean, you need the safe move?
Yeah.
I love that guy. Oh, my God.
So great, man. So shout out to him. And, thanks for doing the podcast. Shout out to Dean Safes. Great place.
Thank you.
And go to the website. They ship all over the world, whatever you need. And if you're in the LA area, they'll... deliver, they'll set it up, they'll take it from your place to another place, whatever you need done. They'll buy your safe, they'll buy a used safe, right?
Occasionally. That's case by case.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not one of those fucking shitty ones. But, you never know. Maybe you got an old cool vintage safe. Are vintage safes worth money?
To the person who has it.
Right.
That's about it.
Oh, one of those?
Yeah, those things. I just dealt with one of those like last week. Guy had a vintage, and it's a heavy son of a bitch.
Right.
Because they were about like elegance. It's like architecture, right? Like
cool.
They had to be like very ornate and fancy back
Yep.
in the day. They also didn't really perfectly engineer how top heavy they were and stuff like that. So once they're in place, they're beautiful and work. Moving them is a nightmare.
Ooh.
And a lot of times for the fire rating, before a certain point, they were using asbestos.
Oh, shit.
So if that thing falls over and cracks, you have a whole shit show on your hands.
Yeah,
so.
just asbestos, cancer box.
Right.
All right. Well,
And if you call us and mention that you heard about us on the Grail,
yeah.
we'll hook you up with something.
Oh, that's fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe like 5% off, something like that.
Yeah, you heard
but
that.
Yeah.
You get a discount on a safe, man.
Mention Dean Delray.
Yeah, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Grail here. And what a cool episode to talk about safes. I love it. And thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you very much for having
And
me.
come on and
This
see
was
some
awesome.
comedy again, dude.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Yeah, anytime, dude. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes and YouTube. And shout out to Dean Safes one more time. See you guys.